guys, what is going on? John Milton here, and I'm back today for y'all for another video. Now, I apologise for my absence yesterday because, yeah, my head just wasn't in the game yesterday at all for some reason. But, yeah, hopefully, you know, I'll be able to get this video out to y'all today, and as well as a new video tomorrow, which will be the, hopefully will be the guitar lesson tutorial for you guys and girls. And yeah, it's been a couple of days since, well, it's actually been a week and a bit, actually, since I last did an album review, and that was of Rage Against the Machine's self-titled debut from 1992. And yeah, today we'll be exploring another different genre, which could be considered like a bit something like you not expect from me, because primarily, you know, all the things that I've reviewed so far have been primarily based on like a rock influence. But yeah, today I'll be reviewing a band that's, you know, more based on like sort of like dance music, but you know, they do incorporate a lot of like rock influences in their material. And that band, guys and gals, is the Prodigy, and we shall be reviewing their 1997 third studio album, which was known as The Fat of the Land. Now, this album came hot off the heels of their 1994 1992 debut and second studio albums, 1992's Experience and 1994's Music for the Jilted Generation. And 1997's Fat of the Land could be considered as sort of like a continuation of the you know, the main sound from those two releases, you know, because especially on Music for the Jilted Generation, we saw a lot of you know, sort of like darker elements, you know, like incorporated into like sort of like, you know, could be considered like big beat, or you know, like you know, dance sound, which you know is primarily performed by, you know, Liam Howlett on sort of like, is it turntables? No, it's like plays like keyboards and stuff, I think. And yeah, I mean, there's in total, guys, there are 10 tracks on this release. Actually 12 if you purchase the Japanese edition, which which includes the songs No Man Army and Molotov Bitch, which are not present on the international edition of the release. Instead, over here we get 10 tracks, and those being, it starts off with the song Smack My Bitch Up, then it goes into Breathe, track 2, Diesel Power, track 3, Funky Shit, track 4, Serial Thriller, track 5, Minefields, track 6, Narayan, track 7, Firestarter, track 8, and Climatize, track 9, and Fuel My Fire, track 10, which is actually a cover song of an L7, which is sort of like a coincidence thing, as I've already covered an L7 album for you guys, which was my first review back in December. And yeah, this record was released in 1997 on XL Records in the UK and Maverick Records in the US. And it was also produced by Liam Howlett, who, you know, as I mentioned, is the band's keyboard player. And yeah, it was recorded between the years 1996 and 1997 at Earthbound Central, which is a studio. And yeah, the phrase of the fat of the land actually refers to like sort of like wealthy and you know, sort of living off the fat of the land. Yeah, it means like living well or being wealthy. And yes, it's like I said, a band more like a dance, more like, you know, more influence based like dance music as opposed to like rock music. But you know, there are plenty of examples of guitar being utilised on this particular release. And yeah, this album was also reissued in 2012 to commemorate the 50th anniversary edition of the release. It was sort of like, it included the Added Fat reissue EP, which basically contained like remixes of some of the songs on the album, including the song Smack My Bitch Up, Breathe, and Minefields, I believe. And yeah, there's plenty of, you know, sort of like very dark and you know, very yeah, sort of like very dark and, you know, beats mixed in with the, you know, this band sound, which is sort of like a fundamental basis. You know, it's shown, for instance, you know, on the first track, Smack My Bitch Up, which, you know, was a very controversial single because, you know, sort of like issues pressed against saying it could, like, you know, indicate like violence against women, even though the main protagonist in the video is actually a female. And yeah, it sort of like shows straight away like all the different elements. So like on this release, like, you know, you sort of like, you know, you get like your breakdowns and stuff throughout the song, and one of the main features of the Prodigy's music is the use of samples, but I'm not actually against their use of samples because they aren't used excessively, in comparison to some artists today, especially in the mainstream popular genre. And yeah, Smack My Bitch Up is definitely a great way to start the album, guys and girls. As I've said, it's got plenty of different a magnitude of different sounds thrown in there. It really retains the dark element, which is one of the key aspects of why I really dig the Prodigy's music. And yeah, there's also some more slowed down parts in this song too, and yeah, it's real, because in total, it shows all the different elements that are part of this album, and whereas on previous releases I've covered before, bands that have just warm up with the first song. On the first song here, the Prodigy really demonstrate what is to come with the rest of the album, everyone. And yeah, it's basically about as I said, could be considered violence against women, but that's not the case. It's basically the song, the line "Smack My Bitch" was taken from a song. It's taken from some song, and yeah, it's definitely a great way to start a release, and it build. It was actually the third single released from this release after Firestarter and Breathe, which were both released in 1996, almost a year prior to release this record. And yeah, I'll go on to Breathe, which is my personal favourite song on this album. As that really, Breathe really does take the darkened elements and utilise it to perfection. There's also, it's sort of like a middle bit as well, the instruments the rhythm break down, and you get it sounds like an acoustic guitar part or something. It's really cool, and yeah, it's sort of along the lines of the rhythmic sounds of Smack My Bitch Up, but it's a bit different, and it helps to add diversity, which is a fundamental feature of this release, because throughout this entire album, the Prodigy used a whole host of different sounds and different interesting instrumentation. It just makes for a really good backing sound. And it's basically there are some more samples in Breathe too, everyone, and there's the crack whip sound which you hear throughout the song is basically taken from a clip from a music video called The Mystery of Chess Boxing, which was taken from Wu-Tang Clan's music video for that song. But yeah, I'd say Breathe is definitely as diverse as Smack My Bitch Up, but in my personal opinion, I feel that Breathe is the better song. And it's basically about a psychosomatic individual, as you get from psychosomatic addict insane, and which basically the mind over matter. It's got a lot of interpersonal demons, and thoughts entering his mind, and he struggles to cope with them, and it's just about finding methods of dealing with your demons, which is definitely something I experience on a regular basis. I'm not very personal, I'm not going into personal details, but it's something that I've battled before, and I still battle on a regular basis, but it's manageable, and the song's basically about a guy in a similar situation. Yeah, now got on to Diesel Power, which I wouldn't say is as diverse as Breathe or Smack My Bitch Up. It primarily revolves around one main rhythm, and it features heavy rapping from a guest artist, which it's basically called Cool Keith from the Ultramagnetic MCs, which I believe the Prodigy took a sample from one of their songs and used it on this release. And Diesel Power, I wouldn't say is as good as Smack My Bitch Up or Breathe. Like I said, it's definitely not as diverse, musically. It's primarily a repeated of a rhythm, but there's differentiated, and it's primarily based on rapping, as opposed to the vocal formula which followed in the preceding two tracks. And I don't think, there was no official explanation for what the song diesel power could be about. And but what I gathered from reading the lyrics, guys, is basically it could be like about like a Prodigy live show with like the energy they create, because there's a lot of lyrics in there, you know, that sort of like describe a scene where like, you know, like yeah, it's basically sort of like a lyrics to describe sort of like a high energy, so like, you know, high performance environment, you know, and the Prodigy's live shows, you know, they really are very energetic, and the song Diesel Power sort of like explains that to the listeners, which, you know, could be the case for any like new fans who are getting into the band The Prodigy to, you know, definitely, you know, get to a live show and check them out live if you enjoy what you hear on the album. And down to the track 4, guys, it's known as Funky Shit. It basically starts with like, yeah, it's definitely back to the more diversity of the first 2 songs on the album, and you know, there's a whole host of like different sounds, you know, explored throughout this release. Like the thing with this like album again is that you know, there are a lot of like different sounds utilised. Sometimes I'm a fan of them, sometimes I'm not. But you know, as you know, there are a lot of parts in the songs that, you know, I can, you know, some of the sounds and samples used that I really dig. You know, and you know, Funky Shit is, you know, definitely another example of that. And yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely as diverse, but I won't say it's as good as like Smack and Bishop or Breathe, in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, music's all like opinion based. And yeah, then we got into Serial Thriller, which is track 5. Sorry, I forgot to mention what Funky Shit was about. It's basically, I don't think I can find anything on this as well. Like, I've researched Prodigy, you know, meanings behind the songs before, but you know, there's not been much, you know, speculated over certain songs as to what it could be about. And but Funky Shit is definitely a great addition to the release. You know, as I said, sort of like harkening back to the, you know, diversity of the previous 2 songs by incorporating lots of different elements, sound-wise, sort of lots, you know, different like rhythmic changes and expansions on those. You know, it certainly helps to create a diversity, which is a fundamental feature of, you know, a really good release. And then on to, as I said, track 5, guys, known as Serial Thriller. This is also one of my favourite songs from this release, and it's sort of like different from the other songs on the album, because it's sort of like, it's basically like Keith Flint just like going solo, like, you know, with some like really cool sounding, you know, rhythms utilised by their keyboard player Liam Howlett. And yeah, the way Keith Flint delivers his vocals, I mean, Keith Flint's like a sporadic vocalist, because, you know, Max in reality is the primary vocalist like a Prodigy, but the way Keith Flint, you know, sort of like performs his vocal lines on this song, you know, it makes a really good song. I'd say the song's definitely, Serial Thriller is like my second favourite song on the entire release. And yeah, there's some more samples in this song as well, and you know, by the band Skunk Anansie. You can definitely tell a Skunk Anansie sort of like, you know, it does sound very similar to something they might do. I've always like sort of like associated the Prodigy with Skunk Anansie for some reason. You know, their lead singer Skin, that young lady who not very significant because she's like bald and stuff. And yeah, it could be possibly about something political or drug related. Again, like, you know, as I said, like most of the Prodigy songs, you know, tell us what they're about, because, you know, very, like, you know, up for discussion, up for debate. I guess it's sort of like the old cliche of, like, you know, figuring things out for yourself. And, you know, I've had to do that quite a few times with songs on, you know, this release. But, you know, hopefully the descriptions will be accurate for you guys and girls, so you can sort of get sort of like a feel and a flavour for, you know, each song's about, which, you know, is, you know, sort of like a reason behind why I do these reviews. And yeah, I got onto Minefields, which sort of like contains very sort of like cinematic introduction, which again is sort of like different from the other songs that the Prodigy have, you know, done on this release. And yeah, there's sort of like, you know, it's definitely a diverse song, Minefields. I won't say it's as diverse as, say, like, you know, Breathe, for instance, you know, the songs I've covered so far. But yeah, it's definitely another solid song. You know, as I said, there are some elements in songs on this release which, you know, I might not necessarily dig, but, you know, the whole, like, diversity about it, you know, it's just amazing at times. And yeah, this song's sort of like a very sort of like philosophical song, lyric-wise, and it's basically about, like, you know, being confident and you know, exploring different life lessons, sort of like, I think this is line that says, like, this is dangerous, or something from Max in reality, sort of like sums his personality up as very sort of like, you know, sort of like very wild, sort of like energetic, charismatic, you know, personality. And, you know, I've always you know, in terms of my self-confidence, you know, again, this is another song I can relate to on a personal note. And, you know, I don't really possess, like, much self-confidence and belief what I do. I've been told by, like, some people that I should, but, you know, it's like a fine line between, like, self-confidence and arrogance, but, you know, it's kind of hard to, like, you know, I don't want to come across arrogant, you know, but I just want to be more confident in what I do. And, yeah, that's basically what mine feels about, you know, it's just about, like I said, like, being confident and just, you know, doing the stuff that you want to do. And, you know, I believe a lot, like, you know, so like, just do stuff that you want to do. If other people don't like it, then, you know, that's not your problem. And, yeah, that's the whole point of life, you know, you only get one life, apparently so, unless you're a cat and you get 9. And, but yeah, it's just about, like, having fun and just doing the stuff that you want to do. And, you know, sort of like exploring, you know, the different things that you learn in life. And, you know, how you can, like, learn from your mistakes and, like, you know, apply them to, you know, to yourself to become a better person. You know, which is definitely something, you know, a really big belief I believe in. And, yeah, going on to track 7, which is called Narayan. It's definitely the longest song on this release. It's sort of like, it could be, the song sort of like the song on the release, which is sort of like about like a religious base, because it's sort of like, I think it's like a Hindu, the god that created Hindu called Narayana, and it gets sort of like a middle part in the song of Narayan, where it's sort of like a, you know, the band chants Om Narayana, you know, it sort of like harkens, sort of like a chant based around Hindu, the Hindu god Narayana. And yeah, but sort of like this song is definitely, you know, one of the most, it could be like actually the most diverse song on this release, but, you know, I just prefer some of the other songs on it, you know, sound-wise. But, you know, there's some really cool, like, you know, like the middle bit, and the, so like the breakdown, we get the, you know, the chant, you know, those bits are amazing in this song, you know, and, yeah, like I said, it's just about the original of Hinduism. I mean, it's kind of hard to, you know, sum of these songs up, you know, just by discussing them. I mean, some songs better, you know, listen to out. And Narayan will definitely be a song that I post in the description for link to this video, guys and gals. And I hope you enjoy that song, as well as the others. And if you decide to check out the whole album, I hope you enjoy that too. Or unless you've heard it before, that's really cool. And, yeah, Narayan is definitely, like, the most diverse song on this release. And, you know, it just adds up to, you know, to the diversity and make, you know, this album, you know, really good in that department. Then we get on to track 8, which is known as Firestarter, which is definitely one of the Prodigy's biggest songs. I think even if you're not, you know, necessarily a huge fan of the band, you know, Firestarter is definitely a song that you've heard of before, because, you know, it performed really well in the UK singles charts along with the song Breathe. And, but Firestarter is obviously one that's more well known. And, yeah, it's sort of like this song is also based around Keith Flint, you know, and it's, I wouldn't say this is like, it's definitely not diverse, it's definitely more of a straightforward song, you know, but the stuff that the Prodigy do in this song, you know, instrumentation-wise, you know, it definitely, sort of like, it gets the job done, shall I say. You know, there's definitely, you know, quite a few different elements, in this song, and, yeah, there's lots more samples in here from, like, you know, there's the drummings from, like, a drumming album known as, like, Jungle Warfare Volume 1 or something. And, yeah, it's, again, it's kind of hard to judge what this song could be about, but, like, what I've gathered is, like, you know, where Max in reality sort of, like, explores, you know, his personality on the song Minefields. I gathered that Firestarter could be about Keith Flint, you know, because he, like on Serial Killer, he performs sort of, like, the sole vocal duties on this song. And, yeah, it's, Firestarter could be about, like, Keith Flint's personality, sort of like, you know, sort of like the twisted animator, fear addicted and danger illustrated. You know, it's, I guess you can see why, like, Keith Flint and Max in reality, you know, it's like, you know, work out well together, form a great partnership, because they're both, like, similar personalities, you know, and you know, it's definitely, I'd definitely say what they're saying is true, you know. When this release came out, you know, Keith Flint was the epitome of different, you know, with his, like, purple and green, like, spiked hair, so that you know, that was awesome. And, yeah, Firestarter, it's a really good song, you know, it's like I said, it's more simple, but, you know, it's definitely a really strong song, and as I said, obviously, you know, it's held in high regard by many fans, because it's, you know, one of the Prodigy's, if not the Prodigy's, sort of, like, biggest hit. And, yeah, they've gotten to Climatize, guys, to track 9, which is the second to last song on this release in the international edition of the album. And it's basically sort of like an instrumental song. We get sort of like a lot of like jungle sounding theme on this album, which again, you know, adds to the diversity of the release. And yeah, even though it's like 6 minutes long, you know, the sort of like soundscapes that are explored in the song, you know, they're certainly tolerable. And you know, if you listen to the album as a whole, there are several times on this release where like a song ends and it sort of like steeds into the next one. And you know, there's definitely a great flow for this release, which again is another, you know, fundamental features to making the release good. You know, if your album sort of like it's a bit inconsistent, you know, sort of like, you know, one song doesn't like flow well from one, and it can at times be a bit problematic. But you know, in the case of The Fat of the Land by the Prodigy, I wouldn't say, you know, that was the case. You know, Climatise, you know, is definitely a song that you can sit to. It's good to like pitch things in your mind, I guess, whilst listening to an instrumental song. You know, you can still get a great effect with that on this song called Climatise. Yeah, and the song's also original in that there's no samples sort of like used by the band in this song, which again shows, you know, how, you know, they actually have, you know, genuine talent, you know, and they don't just like rip off other people's sort of like stuff that other people have done. And yeah, and then we get to track 10, everyone, which is basically called Fuel My Fire, which is a cover song of an L7 song from their 1994 album called Hungry for Stink. And you know, Fuel My Fire is, you know, again, I researched this song. It's strange considering this was done by another band. I couldn't actually find a sort of like an accurate description of what, you know, this was about, but I'm guessing from the lyrics, as I've had to do, like I said, numerous times with this release, it's basically, it could be like about, you know, so there's a line that says, people like you just fuel my fire. And, you know, it could be about, like, talking about a person, like, you know, makes, you know, elicit sort of, like, you know, anger, or, you know, sort of, like, you know, you get a feeling of aggression towards a certain individual. And, yeah, the Prodigy do a really good take on the song, you know, it's sort of, like, they incorporate, you know, sort of their side of instrumentation into it, like, sort of make it, you know, not like a direct cover, but sort of, like, you know, it's sort of, like, retains the integrity of the L7 cover. But, you know, like I said, the Prodigy add their own spin to it. And, yeah. And, you know, the sort of the breakdowns, you know, the big beat sort of sounds that Prodigy use, you know, in terms of, like, the dance music, you know, they definitely, you know, make, you know, this song, which was originally, like, a rock song, you know, make it sound really good. And you can definitely, there's sort of like a blurring of the lines between, like, the Prodigy doing the song and the L7 version. I mean, we get, like, a female vocalist on this song, which I thought was Danita Sparks, the first time I saw on Wikipedia, and I realised it was a cover song, and I thought, silly me, how did I not know this before? But, yeah, this is one of the first songs recorded for the album, I think. So it was done after the autumn tour of 1996, which Prodigy embarked on prior to release of The Fat Land in 1997. And, yeah, you can definitely tell, like, you know, the rock influence with the L7 side and the dance influence of the Prodigy, you know, when you put them together, you know, you get a really great combination, a really great cover song. So yeah, guys and girls, Fat of the Land in total, I would have to give a 8 out of 10, because I really praise the, you know, the diversity of the instrumentation on this release. But like I said, there are some songs and some sounds, well, not necessarily songs, but more some sounds within the songs that I'm not really a fan of. And, yeah, the samples, like, blend in really well, you know, with the songs. Like, I don't think the songs could be the same, actually, without the use of the samples. But the thing is, with the Prodigy, what doesn't, you know, completely knock the rating on this release, in my humble and honest opinion, is the fact that the samples, you know, are not used excessively, as I mentioned, and, you know, like, you know, they sound really good accompanied, you know, with the Prodigy's original compositions. And, yeah, so all the different elements differentiating, you know, to, you know, keep the listener guessing, but also, you know, maintain a good flow to this release. You know, it certainly helps, you know, not, you know, it certainly helps the album, you know, make it an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. And, yeah, I wouldn't really, like I said, the other things I'd criticise about this release, to be honest, you know, some, like, sounds within songs that I'm not really a fan of. And, yeah, apart from that, that's why I give it an 8 out of 10, you know, it's a very, very solid album, and it certainly fits well in the Prodigy catalogue alongside 1992's Experience and 1994's Music for the Just generation. And then, guys and gals, we have quite a lot of personnel on this release. We get Keith Flint on vocals, we get Liam Howlett, who does the keyboards on this album, as well as the producer, art direction and mixing. We get Maxim Reality also on vocals. I guess some lots of additional musicians too, such as Shaheen Bader, who does the female vocals on Smite My Bitch Up, where it's basically sort of like She does like the high pitch sort of like singing, which is sharing throughout the song. And then we get Matt Cameron, who has been in both Pearl Jam and Soundgarden performing drums. It's unclear as to which. He doesn't drum on every single song, but there are some songs which he does, but within the album credits it doesn't say. So basically, sort of like just summarizes whole as like Matt Cameron playing drums, for the Star album. It's really cool that Prodigy got like someone as amazing as Matt Cameron from Soundgarden and Pearl Jam to come in and play drums on some songs on their album. And so we've got Jim Davis on guitar. We get Cool Keith from the Ultramagnetic MCs. Does vocals on Smack Mitchup and Diesel Power. We get the Beastie Boys who do the vocals on Funky Shit. We get Christian Mills who does vocals on Narayan. Saffron, vocals on Fuel My Fire, and Gizbert who plays guitar on Fuel My Fire. So yeah, guys and gals, that's Prodigy, The Fat of the Land in a nutshell. Certainly a great sort of like mainstream, sort of like dance rock album of the 1990s. And if we take a look inside the artwork, we see sort of like a crab on the front, which sort of like becomes symbolic amongst Prodigy fans. We all recognise this cover as being The Fat of the Land. On the reissue, so we get like this crab, we also get like several other crabs in the background, and I'm not really sure what the crab is supposed to stand for, but it certainly makes for a very, like artsy, cover to a song, the album, and I guess could be a contrast to like the darkness that contains all like different villains, and sort of like the crab is sort of like a symbolic of like like a light and day, sort of like the light being the album cover, and the dark night and day, the album cover being the day, and the music on the album being the night. And then we can see on the back we see the track listed with like the band members, who also includes an additional musician on this release in the form of Dead Zed, I believe he's called. He basically appeared like on stage with Prodigy during this tour, and he also appears in the Break video too. Like, I'm not quite sure where the band got him from, but certainly so like just there. It's kind of like the mascot for the band, you see, a bit like Eddie is for Iron Maiden. And then we open it up, we see the CD, which has like an A on it, which sort of like reminds me of like WWE's like Armageddon logo when I used to watch WWE back in the day. And if we take, we see sort of like a machine with like the Prodigy's like spider logo, which comes symbolic with the band. And if we take the CD out, guys, you can also see sort of like the band like chilling in a room with like Maxim Reality, sort of like his face paint on. We get Liam Howlett, Keith Flint sat in a chair, and Dead Zed is like sat on a chair on his own. And then we take out the booklet. That's actually one of the most interesting album booklets I've covered in my album reviews so far, guys and gals. We take it out to see the crab on the front again. We see the machine on the back with like the Prodigy logo, and inside it's like very different. Like on the first page we see like steel, and we sort of get like a blue sort of like sign here, and then we get the second page. It's like, we have no butter, but I ask you. It's sort of like a question, like but leaves like listener wants to find out like more about this release. And also we see like pictures of the band too, and carry on to see like. Would you rather have butter or guns on this page, which is really sort of like a really intriguing and very like concept that you might want to go exploring. And we also see some pictures like dogs in the bottom corner on this page, I believe. And we continue to turn the page, and we see sort of like a cartoon of like the band, like your Keith Flint, your Maxim Reality, Liam Howlett, and your Dead Zed. And from here, it's sort of like you can go two ways. Like you can open the album up, you get all the track listing and credits this side, like this. It's really, really cool. And you put the thing back, you continue turning the page, and you get like a statement that says, "Shall we import lard or steel?" And it says like, "Let me tell you." It's basically sort of like an overrunning story throughout the artwork. And they get like I say, preparedness makes us powerful, and butter merely makes us fat, which is basically it's like a cool contradiction, like the Prodigy just like basically like showing they'll do what they want and stuff. And also the blue image again there we see like lard there, so we've got either steel or lard, which basically sort of like I guess could be considered sort of like a running story alongside the music. It could be a good way of like describing the music as sort of like I guess it could be considered as like the music's like anything you absolutely want it to be. So yeah, guys and girls, hope you've all enjoyed this review of the Prodigy's Fat of the Land. Hopefully this review will be shorter than the previous one. So I've been trying to shorten my reviews down a little bit starting with this one, because I realise like my reviews for like what do we call it, Alice in Chains Facelift and Rage Against the Machine self-titled like 40 odd minutes, thinking, you know, some people might not want to watch these videos for that long, so, you know, I want to like harken back to like my Master of Reality, or it breaks down to like 20 minutes long. But yeah, I guess I'll just wait to see when I put this on computer and upload it to YouTube for you guys and gals. So yeah, hope you've all enjoyed this review, and I shall catch you all maybe tomorrow or sometime in the future for another video, which will either be the guitar lesson tutorial or the our next discussion and debate. So until then, guys and gals, hope you've all enjoyed this review, and stay strong, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the future forever.